Hello friends, welcome to all of you Shiksha 360. As all of you are very well aware that there are lot of death case settlement cases going on in the branches, and many of the persons, basically staff, are not that much aware regarding that. So here basically we will guide you some of the basic terminologies, and we will discuss in detail regarding the death case settlement as per the RBI guidelines and some other important points regarding that. As also you are aware that RBI continuously focusing on doing nomination in the accounts so that death case can be easily settled. But as per the information or data by the RBI, very less nomination in the accounts. And there is continuously increasing in the debt funds also, that is accounts which are not operative. So, but here we will discuss only regarding the death case settlement terminologies and some other terms regarding that. And here, first of all, in this session, we will discuss some of the terminologies that you will find in your promotion exams or in your daily day-to-day banking job. So now let's start. So for more updates regarding JAP, CAP, certificate and promotion exams, you can join us. And for more information, you can mail on our email ID also. For all others, links available in the description of the video. So now, first terminology, which we will discuss here, that is, what is testamentary succession or disposition? Testamentary succession or disposition. All these terminology you will find that similar in all the works because it is by the law. So what is the meaning of testamentary succession? The property of the deceased basically the person who died. The property of the deceased is distributed either by the way of testamentary disposition or intestate disposition. So there are two words. First one is that is testamentary disposition. Second one that is intestate disposition. So what is the meaning of these two words? So now let's discuss. Testamentary succession or disposition means distribution of the property of the deceased on the basis of the will. Okay, so testamentary succession basically means distribution of the property of the deceased on the basis of a will. So what will happen basically where there is no will, that is intestate disposition. These types of things you will find in your interview. On the other hand, when a person dies without leaving any will, the property will be distributed or inherited by the legal heirs as per the succession law. Okay, so where there is no will, so in that case, property will be distributed basically among all the legal heirs, and that is by the as per the succession law by which the deceased was governed. So disposition of property in this manner, it is known as intestate disposition or intestate succession. Hope all of you are able to understand what is the meaning of testamentary succession, that is will, and if there is no will, then that is to be known as intestate disposition. Okay, now move to the next word. What is the meaning of the word will here? Will, it is also a technological term, or we can say that legal term. So now we will discuss in detail regarding that. So will basically means the legal declaration of the intention of a testator. Testator basically means who is going to make a will, one who makes a will with respect to his property, which he desires to be carried into effect after his death. Okay, इस वर्ड का मतलब कहना क्या चाहते हैं कि कोई पर्सन अपने मृत्यु के बाद जो मेरी प्रॉपर्टी है वो कैसे किसके पास जाए, वो किस में बताता है, वो विल में बताता है। जो पर्सन बता रहा है उसको किस नाम से जाना जाता है? टेस्टेटर। और ये कौन से सेक्शन में कहता है? सेक्शन 2H ऑफ इंडियन सक्सेशन एक्ट 1925। इंपॉर्टेंट आपके लिए जो यहाँ पर है, व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, दैट इज सक्सेशन एक्ट बेसिकली ऑफ 1925। इट इंक्लूड्स codicil also. What is the meaning of the word codicil? I will cover in the later of this session. Further, a will comes into operation when the role of the will comes out. A will comes on to operation only on the death of the testator. Basically, when the role of the will comes out, basically when the person who is going to make the will expired. A will can be revoked at any time by the testator who is going to make the will. They can revoke, but when during his lifetime. A will is ambulatory in the sense that it is effective only from the date of death of the testator. Will basically, when it will become effective, basically from the date of the death of the testator, until such time it has no effect, and it can be changed or revoked by the testator. Now, next point, is there any stamp duty on that or any other thing? If there is any mistake in a will, kindly remember that we have to discuss one word, that is codicil, which I will cover later. This is also important and this will relate to this slide. If there is any mistake in a will, it cannot be rectified by any court of law. No consideration is required for making a will. Okay. No consideration is required for making a will. Next one, a will may be made. Why the will basically will be formed or will be made? A will may be made, first one, for disposal of the property of the testator after his death and for appointing an executor. Now one more word comes here, that is executor. Two things we have to cover in this session, codicil and executor. Testator we have already known. Second one, for appointing a testamentary guardian. A will may be made for appointing a testamentary guardian. Third one, that is for exercising a power of appointment. Fourth one, that is for revoking or altering a previous will. Clear? That is for revoking or altering a previous will. This can be done only when the person is alive. So the power of appointment in item third, that is in part 3, refers to the right of an holder of an office or estate to nominate a person to succeed him on his death. That is for exercising a power of appointment, that is like when the person dies, so my authority is to be given to this person. Like for example, a head of a mutt may appoint his successor to the mutt. Like we can say that like in any organization or any sabha, this person will be the next authority. Okay, this one, that is, it is also comes under will, that is for exercising a power of appointment. Hope you will now able to understand the point. Third one, a minor is legally incompetent to make a will, and a will by minor, it is not a legal declaration. Okay, so a minor is legally incompetent to make a will, and a will by minor, it is not a legal declaration. Next one, a declaration in a will should relate to the property of the testator when he tends to dispose of. Okay, a declaration in a will should relate to the property of the testator when he tends to dispose of. If the declaration contains no such information, so it is not a will. So in that case, it is not a will. Next one, is there any specific language for writing a will? No. A will not may be in any form. It may be written in any language, and no technical words are to be necessary here. It may be written in any ink or pencil. Further, that is, a will need not to be stamped as it is exempted from stamp duty. Next one, that is, a will need not to be stamped as it is exempted from stamp duty. Very, very important point to understand. As such, it is not anything required. Clear? like stamp duty. The will shall be attested by two or more witnesses in the presence of testator. A will, it is not rendered void merely for the reason that it is witnessed by any one of the beneficiaries under the will. Okay, beneficiaries basically that is who is going to getting the land, like property. जो प्रॉपर्टी जिन लोगों में जाने वाली है, अगर उनमें से वहां पर कोई भी नहीं है जब विल लिखी जा रही है, तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि उस विल को वॉइड डिक्लेयर करा जाएगा। वॉइड मतलब उसका कोई भी मतलब नहीं है, जो कागज पे लिखा हुआ है उसका मतलब है, चाहे कोई वहां पर बेनिफिशियरी हो या ना हो। सो ए विल इज नॉट रेंडर्ड वाइड merely for the reason that it is witnessed by any of the beneficiaries under the will. Hope you are now able to understand what is the meaning of the will and simple understanding of these terminologies. Now, in the previous point, I have left two words. First one that is codicil, second one that is executor. This one. Now I will discuss here. Codicil. Codicil basically means an instrument made in a relation to a will and explaining, altering or adding to its dispositions and shall be deemed to form part of the bill as per section 2B of the Indian Succession Act 1925. Like we can say that if there is any change, so it is like an extra document that is to be known to be as a codicil. So a codicil means an instrument made in a relation to a will and explaining, altering or adding to its dispositions and shall be deemed to form part of the will. While obtaining a probate. Now, two words which we have to discuss. First one that is probate, second one that is executor. While obtaining a probate, a codicil alone will not be admitted to probate when the will is lost. Admitted to probate when the will is lost and the terms of the codicil will be incapable of being carried out without knowledge of what was in the lost will. Clear? Like we can say that if we have not the document which had modified, then there is no meaning of the additional document. That additional document, it is to be known as codicil here. So if the existence of the will is not proved, the codicil will not be admitted to probate. A codicil, it is of a similar nature to a will as regard both its purpose and the formalities relating to it. But in general, it is supplemental to and considered as a next to a will previously made, being executed for the purpose of adding to, varying or revoking the purpose of that will. Clear? We can say that if there is any change is going to be in the will, that is to be mentioned in an additional document that is to be known as codicil. Okay, now we will discuss two more words, probate and executor. Hope all of you are able to understand all these points. And if you like this video, please share your valuable feedback in the comment section also. Next one, probate, which we have to now discuss. Probate, what is mean that a probate basically means a copy of a will certified under the seal of a court of competent jurisdiction with the grant of administration to the estate of the testator. Testator basically who had written that will. Okay, so probate basically means a copy of a will certified under the seal of a court of competent jurisdiction with the grant of administration to the estate of the testator. A probate is conclusive as to representative title of the executor to represent the estate. It is also conclusive proof as to the due execution of the will and as to the genuineness of the will. That is, it always basically it is comes under the probate. The effect of grant of the probate is that it established the factum of the will and the legal character of the executor and all the property both movable and immovable of the deceased testator vest in the executor. Basically, when it vests in the executor, basically from the death of the testator, from the date of the death, and as long as the grant stands, the executor is the legal representative of the deceased. So who is the legal representative of the deceased? That is the executor. Basically, it has the holder of all the property of that deceased. Okay, so probate basically it means a copy of a will certified under the seal of a court of competent jurisdiction. Okay, so now hope all of you are able to understand what is probate, what is codicil, what is will, what is testamentary succession, and what is intestate succession. Testamentary basically when the will is available, and intestate when the will is not available. Next one, that is executor. Executor basically means a person to whom the execution of the last will of a deceased person is by the testator appointments conferred. Or executor, we can say that executor also means the executor or administrator of a deceased person. Okay, so executor, I will repeat it, that is, it means a person to whom the execution of the last will of a deceased person is by the testator's appointment conferred as per the section in Succession Act 1925. Court shall not recognize the rights of an executor unless he has obtained probate of the will under which he claims that is he has the all the authority of that property. That is till the property will be divided among the actual persons. But under section 213 of the Indian Succession Act, the state vests in the executor by virtue of the will and from the date of the testator. A period of 7 clear days is required to pass after the death of the person dying, leaving a will or codicil before probate can be granted. Clear? Before probate can be granted. Probate, what is it? Is a document. It is a copy of the will. Okay, so a period of 7 clear days, we can say like 7 working days is required to pass after the death of the person dying, leaving a will or codicil before probate can be granted. The office of an executor or administrator is not assignable, nor it does it survive after the death of a sole executor or administrator in the favor of his heirs. Heirs, basically, we can say that like waris. Okay, the office of an executor or administrator is not assignable, nor it does survive after the death of a sole executor or administrator in favor of his heirs. Last word which we have to discuss, that is letter of administration and administrator. So letter of administration, basically it means included any letter of administration, whether journal or with the copy of a will, annexed or limited in time or otherwise. Okay, so letter of administration basically included any letters of the administration, whether journal or with the copy of the will, annexed or limited in time or otherwise. And it is basically granted under section 232 of the Indian Succession Act. When a person dies, leaving a will without appointing an executor, or if the executor appointed by the will is legally incapable or refuses to act, or who has died before the testator or before he has proved the will, an administrator can be appointed only by a competent court as distinguished from an executor who can be appointed only by a person by his will or codicil. Clear? So administrator, basically it is appointed by which person? Basically it is appointed by the court. Basically when so when a person dies, leaving a will without appointing an executor, or if the executor appointed by the will is legally incapable or refuses to act, or who has died before the testator or before he has proved the will, an administrator can be appointed only by the competent court as distinguished from an executor who can be appointed only by a person by his will or codicil. So here two different things you have to understand. Administrator, it is to be appointed by the court, and executor basically by the will or the codicil. Okay. So in this session, we have to discuss up to this much point. Hope all of you are able to understand regarding all these terminologies. Whatever we have discussed, that is what is administrator, letters of administration, executor, probate, codicil, will, testamentary succession, and disposition. In the next session, we will discuss regarding the nomination. Clear? What will happen in the joint account, in the either or survivor account? All these things we have to cover in the next session. Total 6 to 7 sessions we will take or more as per the requirement, and definitely after going through all the session, you are able to understand all these points very properly. So thanks to all of you for joining this discussion.